All right, up. Hello, Panther fans. How you doing today? So we have our good friend, Mr. Billy Lindsay, on with us again, and really appreciate Billy taking the time. Billy's actually up in New Jersey. For those that have the NHL Network, you've seen Billy now. You know, there's a lot of players that are retired or whatever, and Billy's well respected in the league, in the industry. He adds some really good commentary. I watch him all the time. Obviously I'm a little biased, but last night I'm watching him do analysis of a play with, I don't know if he had a hockey stick or a pointer, but very incisive, very knowledgeable, and always a pleasure to have him on. Grateful that he takes the time, for us and for you guys. We always get a lot of comments, for Billy and for Randy, and we're really lucky that, we got two guys that love talking Panther hockey. So how's it going today, Bill?
It's good. It's cold in New Jersey. It's really cold.
Yeah.
So I've lost. I'm Canadian, but I've lost my Canadian blood for some reason. I step outside, and it's frigid temperatures when you're used to that warm in South Florida. That's one of the reasons I love South Florida to begin with. I came from Quebec. And Quebec was a great hockey city, but when I got down to South Florida and got into the toes in put my toes in the sand, gotten some of that ocean water, and started playing hockey down there, I was like, I can work with this.
Yeah. I'm not that far from you, Billy. Right now, I'm on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and it's warmed up. This is the first day above freezing in about a week, but we're making up for that with about a 30-mile-an-hour wind. So
yeah, it's the snowstorms they're creeping even way down south at this time, down in the Carolinas, everything. So
yep.
So Billy, you remember those days in Lighthouse Point where I first met you, and you guys used to leave the practice with shorts and flip-flops? What a life.
The flip-flops.
That's why I think, South Florida is now, I'd say, definitely a destination for players. Not only do we have a good team, but, no state taxes, and the atmosphere. You finish practice, you can go to the beach, you can play golf. So I was curious. The reason why, I wanted you on today, because after the game the other night in the post game, you made a comment. You said, this is the most exciting 12 games or time for Panther hockey that you've ever experienced. And, hey, we're playing great, but I also remember the 12 game streak, obviously 96. So what made you say that?
Just the way the team's playing. It's interesting. Last time I was on with you guys, we were trying to talk the fans down out of problems, and everyone was like, Andrew Burnett, is he going to be successful as a coach? What's wrong with this team? And I was like, whoa, guys, listen, we have a good hockey team here. There's going to be ups and downs in 82 games. I've been through it enough. I've been around the league for, working on 30 years of pro hockey experience here. So I know 82 games that there's going to be some bumps in the road. And I knew we had a really good quality hockey team. And it's funny how overreactionary people can be in the moment. And what I said with this recent stretch is that I've never seen a team really play that kind of hockey at that kind of level, and just out the ability to just take it to the opponent night in and night out and score goals at an alarming rate. It just seems like they were out there just having a blast, having fun, and complete dominance. The passing plays were crisp. They were coming out of the gate. They're starting to get healthy. They go through the COVID issues. They get some players that banged up. Now you got a pretty fully intact team, and it's one of the deepest teams that I've ever seen. It's the best assembled roster the Panthers have ever had as far as talent.
The best.
And depth, and they got really key components here as far as that fourth line with Losterina and Hornquist and Lomberg, they can do a lot of that dirty work. Gudis is very physical. So if you want to muck it up, you can go that way. If you want to play a fast speed game, the Panthers can do that. You want to dump and grind, they can do that. The one game that really kind of stood out on that homestand was the Vancouver game. And Vancouver, even though we won 5-2, Vancouver played really well, really well.
Yeah.
And it was one of the games we didn't get anything off the rush. We maybe had 1 or 2 chances off the rush, and we lead the league in rush chances around 8 or 9 a game. So I was impressed with Vancouver, the way they came in, and all of a sudden it was close in the second, and then just boom, boom, it's 4-1, just like that. The team's electric. It's explosive. And they haven't, the power play is getting better. Andrew Burnett wanted the power play to be better out of the break, and it's starting to turn a corner and get better. But they've been able to just dominate teams at even strength. And that Vancouver game, they were forced to dump the puck in, rely on their forecheck, and they did a really good job getting it back to the point, getting traffic in front of Markstrom, screening the goaltender. And that's really what I said, okay, this team's a little bit different.
Right.
Because I know that they can do it with the speed, and they can beat you off the rush and have all the fancy flair and the pretty passing plays that we see on a nightly basis. But in that Vancouver game, they had to work for it, and they had to really dig down and grind. And that's a game that kind of impressed me, because they got all the talent, but there's a work ethic behind it. And we went to the championship in 96, and it was defined by work ethic. And now all of a sudden you got this team with this kind of talent that you're starting to see the chemistry that's off the ice, and these guys playing for each other and for the guy next to them. And that's what is building a winning culture. And then you have this star laden roster that they've been able to put together. So the streak, just watching the team play and the passing plays that I've seen, the 3-on-2s, and also the ability to win games in different fashions. The goaltender, Bobrovsky's flying under the radar. He's still playing really good hockey, but he's kind of got lost in the shuffle, because you're putting up 9 goals a night, 8 goals a night.
Right.
So to me, in pro hockey, the last 10 games, I've never witnessed a 10-game stretch like that in person. The 80s Oilers would be proud of what's happened in the last 10 games. They really would. You would have to look back to the mid 80s probably to see a 10-game stretch where a team scores 61 goals. 10 games, they've averaged over 6 goals a game. So it's this team, Andrew Burnett, and everyone deserves a credit. That's why I said the organization deserves a lot of credit. The fan base is starting to come out. And I kind of had a tweet today. Kevin Weeks had a thing saying, don't quit mocking the markets down there in South Florida. But South Florida is tricky. We got to build back the trust of the fan base. There was a lot of winnings, but in the early 90s, I was there. It was insane. It was through the roof.
Yeah,
you too. So, but they built it the right way. And what the players have to recognize now is that they've got an opportunity that just doesn't come along very often, a chance to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And when I walked away from the game not winning a Stanley Cup, I don't regret much, but it's really disappointing to walk away from from a NHL career and not have a Stanley Cup on your resume, because
so close.
And you dream of playing in the NHL. And once you get there and become established, there's really only one other dream you have, and that's that trophy.
Right.
So I love my time in the NHL, but if I was ever to have that trophy, so these players got a chance of a lifetime in front of them with this team that's been assembled. So being a Florida Panther, with the organization, alumni, but now I'm truly as bought in as a fan as you guys. And I'm rooting so deeply hard for this to happen. And I can't wait for the play. It's just really exciting what they've built and what they've done. And they got a true chance to win a Stanley Cup, which I hope that players recognize it in that locker room. I'm sure they do. But once the playoffs come around, it's a team that that everyone's going to be looking at.
Yep. To what you were talking about, Stu and I have talked about that. Is the perfect point. Stu and I were talking about this when we were watching Tampa last year during the postseason, where either way, you want to play run and gun or you want to go to board battles in the corner. Tampa could beat you both ways. And you're exactly right. That's what we're seeing now with the Panthers, is just like either way. And then we I don't even think we've even had to win one that it's been a goaltender battle either. Like you were saying with Bobrovsky, he's given up 2 a night maybe, and it's nobody's paying attention, because instead of us winning 2-1 or 3-2, we're winning 9-2, and it's like an afterthought that he's having this great season. And also, like what you said about like Markstrom, the Vancouver game, his numbers are better than Bob. I mean, he's been playing out of his mind, and we still got 5. We still got 5, you know. And a couple of these kids, like the kid, when Tampa was on their 3rd goalie, and there was somebody else that we played that was on their 3rd goalie. And I just kind of felt bad for those kids, because I think the Tampa, one of them had only played like one East Coast League game ever. And then boom, here you go against the Panthers. And it was like, that poor kid drew the short straw.
Yeah. What happens is, because every team's had to go through the COVID stuff with their teams, and we went through it, and we got beat. And we had to go through it, and we took our lumps, and we got Tampa Bay when they were going through it, and it's kind of cyclical as it goes through. Every team's going to have to go through it. Most of the majority of the teams and players have gotten through it. There should be no more cancellations of games for COVID issues, but we got a couple of teams. Tampa was one of them that was going through the COVID issues and had problems, and we got a couple of big wins. So we made up for the times that we kind of got beaten on when we were going through the injury. So it just kind of comes around full circle in the NHL. So we got, I wouldn't call them freebies, but we got a couple of games.
A
couple of games that you definitely should have won, and we did, and we took care of business. Now the next step for this team, this 5-game road trip, can they be better on the road? Can they improve on the road? Play some Western Conference teams that are pretty good, but go out there on a 5-game road trip and see if Andrew Burnett and the coaching staff said they need to be better on the road, more consistent. So that's the next step for this team that you want to see as far as the evaluation process. Can they get better?
This is going to be a big test.
Yeah, and it's going to be the great home record, but it's going to be road heavy the second half of the season.
Yes,
they're going to play a ton of games on the road, so there will be some bumps in the road, and there will be some more adversity, and I believe that will help the team once they get into the playoffs. But we'll see. This is an evaluation process on this 5-game road trip to see how they do, because we know what we're capable of on home ice.
So
you don't win series unless you win on the road. But two comments. Number one, as far as this year, and they have motivation, because losing the way they lost to Tampa, not having Ekblad, it left a bitter taste in their mouth and a chip on their shoulder to, do it this year. The other thing is our offense, and I tell, Eric this all the time, we're an offensive juggernaut. We're like a tsunami. We just come in waves and waves and waves. And, watching the game live, it's like, we score 1, 2, 3 goals. I mean, the opposing players go back to their bench with their head hung low. And it's like they don't know what to do. And, we lead the league in a lot of statistics, but, goals off the rush. And I think that's the key to our success this year is, the defense gets it right out to the forwards, and then boom, they're flying. We got a lot of speed in our team. So,
they're able to dictate the pace of play, and that's when they're at their best. If they kind of have a mental lapse or come down, the way that they've mostly been beaten on this season is unfortunately when their level drops. But when they're at their best and at their peak and dictating the pace of play and pushing, as far as their speed, the majority of the teams in the league just can't keep up. And so when you got a pace and they can play with that, the defense, the defense has got a point in every single game
Yeah.
on the score sheet, and our defensemen lead the league in assists. So they've really been able to push that play, be the extra man on the attack, make a 3-on-3, a 4-on-3, or 2-on-2, a 3-on-2. So they're able to add that extra layer of offense, and they've been really good defensively. But it's a really well-rounded group. Is just, you can go out on all four lines. And on this, we'll see on this road trip, but Andrew Brunette, the luxury that he has is that all four forward lines and pretty much all the D pairings, it doesn't matter if you go into Edmonton and you get the low Skarinen line out there against McDavid. Andrew Brunette's probably not going to be concerned.
Right.
He feels that any of his four lines can play against the other team's top lines.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
he doesn't have to worry about line matchups that much.
Right.
He does want to get Uyghur and Ekblad out there as much as possible against the other team's top forward line. But other than that, the matchups, it's just get over the boards, get 30, 45 seconds on the ice, get off, let the next line do their stuff. And you're able to balance out the ice time, keep everyone fresh. And that's why we wear down teams. And it's a physical group. They have the big puck possession numbers, and when you usually have the big puck possession numbers, you usually don't get a lot of hits, because you have the puck the whole game. But this last game I checked, I don't know where they're at, but they were at fourth in the NHL in hits. Gudas leads the league in hits.
Yeah.
So there's a physical element to this team that you're really going to need in the playoffs.
Yeah.
What about board battles? We seem to win almost every board battle. Mammon is terrific. Lombard, Huberdeau.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on. I mean, we just have such a well-rounded team. Speaking of defense, you're on Twitter, I'm on Twitter, Eric's on Twitter. Fickle fans remember how they were after Bob last year. Trade him. But I've come to the point, originally I wanted to go out and get Chychrun. But I realized that we get Chychrun, it's going to screw up the whole chemistry, the line combinations. In my opinion, at this point in time, I do not think we need to make a move.
And for both of us, that's because of the play that you levy to add on to that. Yeah.
That's an interesting take of where you want to move as far as the young guy for Chychrun and dollar amounts. You got to realize what Bill Zito's going to have to operate here with, because the Panthers window is really good this year. Then the Barkov extension kicks in next year.
Right.
And then
the cap hit too.
And then Huberdeau is probably going to kick in the year after that. And you got Mackenzie Weegar that you're probably going to have to allocate some pretty good money to at some point, and Carter Verhaeghe at some point. You're going to have to make decisions down the road that you're not going to be able to sign all these guys,
right?
That you have.
That's our biggest problem.
That's the nature of the beast, and that's why this year is so big, and next year it's really that the window's really big. You're going to have to fill it from within, like Tampa Bay with the draft picks. What they've done, they had to lose their whole third line last year.
Yep.
Right.
They did a good job replacing it with a veteran like Corey Perry and Taylor Radish, Colton, and some of these guys, Matthew Joseph. They've drafted well and been able to fill the pieces, but that's what you have to do here in the Panthers. What you see in this Panther roster in 2 more years, you're not going to be able to probably keep all these guys on board, and you're going to have to develop from within and get creative and kind of keep on going. They're still going to be a really, really good team, but as far as the salary cap era is, that's why it's constructed this way in the salary cap era, is try and keep it competitive. But the Panthers are, as far as that goes, are in a really good situation for this year and next year. So that's where you'd have to be careful if you go out and get a guy like Chychrun around $5 million and committed for a number of years. Do you want to do something like that? If Bill Zito's been really good. I don't know what the personal opinion, but you look what Tampa Bay has done in the past, and getting like a Luke Shen or a Bogosian, a veteran defense. Yeah, a Maroon or a veteran defenseman that can play. instead of a big splash like a Chikrin or someone like that, I would see if there's anything to be done with this team, it'd be just adding a depth player,
Right.
That's had some experience and doesn't have a really big contract or has an expiring contract to come in, that you could maybe use as a rental for the rest of the year, and then he's kind of off the books. That's maybe something that you could explore at the trade deadline. But a player like Chikrin, if you're going to do that, you'd have to move some considerable money out, and
Right.
you'd have to be committed to him for 4 or 5 years, and then where does that leave you with players like Uyghur, players like Forsling, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a tricky job for Bill Zito. He's done a tremendous job, but those are all things you have to keep in the back of your mind.
Right.
So what's your thoughts about what I said about the chemistry and how a new player comes in and might affect, not only the locker room, but the pairings? I mean, what do you do? You take a guy, and I'll just throw out Chicken. Do you put him with Ekblad? I mean, he's a top 2, top 4 defenseman. What do you do? What do you do with a player like that might screw up what we got going on now? That's the question.
Chemistry, it's funny, if you got a strong enough group in the room, then the person's going to come in. We got Ray Shepard in 96 around the trade deadline. And honestly, Ray, from his background, you heard problems in the dressing room and stuff like that, of the kind of guy that he was. And all of a sudden he came in here with our group, and we had such and he fit right in. So, and he was, I don't know what happened in the past or in our locker room. I love the guy. I got along great with him. He was ended up being a good friend of mine, and he just kind of fit right into our locker room. But if you got a strong enough group in that locker room, whoever you're going to bring in is not going to disrupt it. It's
right.
They're going to come in and say, this is how it's done here. There's 19 other guys, or how many other guys that are already bought into this system. You're not going to throw one guy in there and he's not going to just make it big enough. The group's identified itself. They've got an identity. One player or 2 players are not going to change that identity at all as far as team chemistry. They would have to fit in, and the player coming in, it's probably only going to help them to come into an environment like what the Panthers have.
It's interesting, and I can't believe I've never brought this up before with you, Billy, because of the responses you just gave now. And if you ask me, or almost any Panther fan, longtime Panther fans, if you asked us when did it all fall apart, when did it all go wrong, was when Stu Barnes and Jason Woolley were extradited for Chris Wells. And our feeling was the chemistry of that team, with taking out especially Stu Barnes. It just seemed like you guys were number 1 in the NHL at that point. And then it kind of, it wasn't like you guys got bad or anything, but for the fans, our perspective is that was the moment that why would we do that? What happened there? So I'm just curious as to what was going on in the dressing room for you guys in that moment, because Stu Barnes had to be one of those Ryan Lomberg type popular guys.
Yeah, well, Stu, I played junior hockey with him. I knew him really well, but he was a big part of that team. And you talk about bringing players in, but as far as chemistry, taking players out hurts more. Yeah, that hurt us individually, because we had built something in 96, and we were off to that start in 97 we were league and rolling, and think, okay, well, we're building off what we did in 96. Maybe we have a chance here in 97. And honestly, that gutted our dressing room. There was a ripple effect through it. And Brian Murray, the GM at the time, he just felt that because we were so good out of the gate and had older players, that we weren't really developing as an expansion team underneath some of our players, and felt that his thought process was that we needed to get younger and start developing. And I believe he took an opportunity away from us I have a lot of respect for Brian. He treated me really well, but it's if you look back on that trade, I'm sure it's one of those trades you probably wouldn't do again.
I could still hear Neil Rogers being apoplectic that day. If you remember Neil.
Yeah, I remember Neil, but that trade really gutted us in the dress.
Yeah.
It hurt because it becomes part of a family.
Yeah.
And we know, and we all know it's a business and that you got to move on, but
Right.
The family, he was part of our family and a big part of it.
That was kind of one of those where it was like that wasn't necessary right now, you know, and that's kind of how Panther fans, Stu and I especially, kind of feeling with this team on the roll right now, where people have talked about maybe this, maybe that, and we're like the point, like, no, let's just leave this alone right now. This is good. Let's just leave it alone.
Yeah, and it's in pretty good. Bill Zito understands what's in front of him and what this team has to do. He's not going to take someone out of that lineup that's critically important and just swap it out for a prospect. At that point, Chris Wells was coming in with what, potential. What could he be? And we already knew what we had in Stu, and he went on to play another 10 years at a very high level. So we knew what we had, and so that part of it, to me, that was one of the most frustrating days that we had, and we were at Stu's house the night it happened, because we were told, and we all gathered there, and none of us could believe what transpired. Like we couldn't wrap our heads around why would you do this to us?
Right.
Yeah, so it stung us as a group, and you're right, we never recovered from that. It's hard to say, but that one trade, we just as a group, we never recovered from it, and the moves that were made from that point on you can pinpoint that trade as to where it started to go downhill for us.
I appreciate you being honest and open about that one. That was. I appreciate that. Not that you would ever be anything other than that, but that's been on my mind since that day. It's just wondering what the hell went on in the locker room when that happened, because I know what was going on in the fan base.
It hurt us. Yeah, it hurt us. Yeah. We lost a member of our family that you go through all those battles and all that stuff, and a guy that was well liked and goes on. So, and he was we didn't have a lot of scoring on that team, but he was one guy that could produce the 20-25 goals every single year.
So
that off.
I mean, there was so many players after that we got rid of that were great players. Ray Whitney, Dan Boyle,
Wizard,
Roberto, and just went on and on.
And that's where it's funny, because they've tried to piece it together, and then it's more with duct tape. And you had the Pavel Bure years, which was exciting. Pavel was great, but you could never build anything around him to make it substantial. As a one-man show, as a great one-man show. I would pay money to come out and watch Pavel play. I played with him, but winning's the ultimate thing. So it's taken until now, last year and last couple of years to get all the pieces put back together.
It's just the truth. It's literally the truth.
Yeah. And they put it back together at the best level that we've ever seen. It's like 96, but it's with so much more skill involved.
So on that point, to this team now, and this is something that, again, fan base talking about, and you could go either way, with the idea being we're winning every game by 6 and 7 and 8 goals, and you want to keep everything together. Now, what do we do with Noel Acciari?
Keep him on board. Extra guys, you'll see. You'll need everyone.
Right.
If you want him around, we'll see. Everything's you'll be predicated, but I believe everyone will stay around it towards the deadline until you got a really firm idea. And then the deadline, if you see what you want to do, but if someone goes down, Noel Acciari becomes extremely useful.
Right.
To us.
Right.
plug and place. He might not get a chance as an opportunity in the lineup or see where he fits, or he might get some games to see. There's still some flux in that third line with Lundell.
Right.
And Marchment with his ability to stay healthy, and Hammond's played well, but there's still some flux in that third line. With, if there's one line you're looking at out of that whole group, it's surrounding Lundell with the right
guys. Right.
Yeah, there's the other when healthy, when everyone's intact, it looks like we know what we got on first and second and fourth. It's the third line that is the one that can have some inner pieces. There's a chance at Chari, if you wanted to play him on the wing, give him some wing game on the wing there. Maybe if Vetrano's not playing well, or Scratch or Mammon or Marchment, you can kind of tinker with that. Lundell's so good at both ends of the ice, and plays so well that it's amazing to me that he's really emerged onto the scene like this. But you could pretty much put anyone with him and see how it goes, see how it works, and see what you got there. So there'll be some tinkering and players getting looks, I think, on that third line to see what it looks like as they move forward.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Really
Stu.
talking about Lundell, with your job on the NHL Network, because I don't know some of these other players, but I said to Eric a few podcasts ago that Lundell had to start scoring, because for the most part, when the writers get together to decide these trophies, I think with the rookie, they look more at the point total and not the total game. Obviously, he does so many great things for us, and he's started to score in recent games, and put himself in that conversation when it comes down to deciding who wins. So are you agreeing along those lines?
Well, he has to score. He scored enough. If you wanted to pick the three finalists at this moment, I would go with the two Detroit kids, Raymond and Seider, and I would put Lundell in there as a finalist, because the writers are aware nowadays there's enough information out there to look at the underlying stuff. I believe he's second in forwards in shorthanded time on ice, with 20 plus games played in the whole league, not rookies, but all forwards.
Right.
He's second or third in the NHL in takeaways per game, and doesn't get a lot of power play time. All of his stuff is coming at even strength. So the writers and voters, or whoever gets involved in that decision, they have enough analytic tools to dig in to see if the guy's worthy, and that's changed from the past. So there's enough information if they want to dig into and see Lundell's worth, that they'll know his worth. But you'll still need to contribute some points, because you got to take into credit too Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider in Detroit on a very average team.
Right.
Raymond's putting up really good numbers, and is Seider on the defense, which is an extremely tough position to break in as a young kid and be that good. Detroit's where they're at, around that 500 mark, because of those two guys, because of Raymond and Seider. So those are very, and Lundell might get a little bit of a knock, or taken down, because the Panthers are so explosive offensively, and are so good. So there's kind of two different ways to look at it. It's just, you can look at kids at how much do they elevate an organization, and I believe Raymond and Seider have done a lot for Detroit in that category. And Lundell's he's found his own special niche, and if he keeps going along like this, he'll be in the conversation and for the finalist at the end of the year. But there's some good rookies out there, but he's deserving.
That was actually one of the things I was going to ask you. You mentioned Detroit. Today was the first day I looked into the standings for a little while, because it's so back and forth with the games in hands and everything. I don't like to drive myself too crazy. But there's the clear delineation, and that last playoff spot has got some names that could make it that you weren't expecting, like the Wings think that the Wings and the Jackets right now are the closest too for that last playoff spot.
Yeah.
And then you got, Philadelphia. I'm not sure what's going on there. And then the Islanders. In my season preview, I picked the Islanders to win the cup, by the way. So
I definitely had them in the playoffs. So
yeah. Just if you had to guess, do you think the Wings can do it, or do you think
No.
one of these teams are going to come up from behind them?
Not yet. The 8 teams in the spots are it. I think you can call the playoff race right now, as far as the 8 teams.
Right.
Boston's playing a lot better. Signed Tuukka Rask. So there were some question marks around Boston, but their recent stretch has me believing that they're solidified. And then the Rangers, the emergence of the Rangers, Shesterkin, the goaltender. To me, he's the best goaltender in the NHL. Probably going to, to me, if it ended, he's the Vezina Trophy winner
Right.
At this moment. And then you got Pittsburgh, you got Washington, you got Carolina. So those teams aren't changing. Our top 3 definitely aren't changing with Florida, Tampa.
Right.
So the playoff race, the 8 teams are in my opinion.
Yeah.
The 8 that are in, and
Right.
I don't see any of those underlying teams getting hot or having enough talent to really to push them and get in. It's all going to be about jockeying for seeding and positioning the rest of the way, because some of those, Detroit's done a nice job. Columbus is okay. Philadelphia is in a downward spiral.
Yeah.
And the Islanders, it's just too much ground to make up. They're going to have a lot of games in hand and home ice, but that if there was one team, they would have to put together like a 9-1-1 stretch to kind of get back into. But it's feasible, but I just don't see it happening with any of those. We've got enough of a sample size now to see the separation between the top 8 teams in the East and the rest.
Yep.
Changing gears a little bit, and this relates to, your job on the NHL Network. I think at the beginning of the year, I think it was Mike Johnson, right? He was the only one that predicted the Panthers to win the cup. So, we're full force now into the season.
Kelly too. I don't know if you know Mike Kelly, the analytics guy, and does a really good job here at the NHL Network. He picked us to win the Stanley Cup as well. But and he's the guy that's really in tune. He does a really good job with. If you'll see him he'll be on the fly, the recap show. He'll be on the fly in the next couple of nights. One of the next couple of nights, does a really, really good job. And he's got his own company that does analytics stuff, but he breaks it down in real simple terms, and is a guy that actually picked us to win the Stanley Cup. So I was kind of intrigued about that, because he uses the analytics not as a end all be all, but he uses it in a real smart way. And for me, I was excited when he picked us to win the Stanley Cup, because he has a lot of that underlying data that makes sense, which what I was intrigued by. But Johnny maybe, and there's a few other guys that had us up there, but we'll see.
So my question is, when you guys are off the air, is there conversation now? I know Rupper, posted something on Twitter the other night, especially after seeing how we've played in the last, 4 games and the amount of goals that we've scored. So off air, is there more and more talk about this team? And I'm wondering when they're going to do a, half hour or whatever team profile on just how good we are. So
no, they talk a lot. The attention's getting there. We're in our meetings that are talked about a lot. Everyone's asking me questions about the team when I'm here. I get to see them in person, so they're asking me what you're seeing every day, what's developing down there. But everyone's interested in our team. Everyone wants to talk about our team. How are you doing that? Why are they doing that? So there's a lot of talk, and it's starting to go around the whole NHL community. Is this the team to beat? So we'll see. It's the playoffs are an interesting thing, because remember, before Tampa won the back-to-back cups, they had a regular season that was one of the best ever in NHL history and got
Right.
swept by Columbus.
Right. Yeah.
In the first round.
So it can happen.
Yeah, so it can happen. But as far as being, the attention the Panthers are getting is something that I've never seen or been around in recent memory. It's not even close. Everyone wants to know about this team. Everyone wants to understand what's happening down there. So it's a good thing for South Florida, and it's a good thing for the Panthers. And that playoff series last year with Tampa was awesome. So it's just building in the right direction for another great year and another really excitement around the playoffs, which you really want to see this team be able to win a round and advance and get the excitement going. That's where the road improving on the road, but the ultimate test for this team is getting past that first round. Same things being talked about in Toronto all the time too. Is, can the Maple Leafs get by the first round? Can the Panthers get by the first round? So it'll be interesting once you get there. That's where the proof is going to be at, is can this team really show up and do what they've been doing in the regular season when it counts?
So I think a key to that is having home ice.
You'd like to win the division. You definitely would like to miss that 2-3 matchup, which would be a Toronto or Tampa Bay matchup again, which would cause fireworks. It's hard though, but even if you get a wild card team, whether it's a Pittsburgh or someone, it's going to be or Boston. Right. Yeah, it's going to be the way that the playoff format's set up with the 2-3 and the division going against the wild cards. It's hard to win. The Stanley Cup's harder than ever to win with the way that the playoff seeding's gone about.
Yeah. So the last question I have, there's been a lot of talk with the couple press conferences, one of the players and the coach and everything. I just want to get your opinion as a player, like if you've ever been in that situation, or the whole "we want 10" chant. I forget which player it was, but he mentioned it. And he mentioned how that, and it's funny because I had actually said that in the recap, was we were probably saying it at the same time, but how it was like pretty much the most embarrassing thing that a player could have, and I've been talking about it on the show. It's like, it's one thing if the crowd is joking and it's just, but no, they're not joking. It's just like, this is real. It's like, well, we got 6 minutes into the game. We want 10. And so I'm just, from a player's perspective, either side, like they're out there trying to get the 10th goal with 16 seconds left, and putting out the effort that you would normally put out when you're trying to desperately get a point and tie the game at the end. And also, the players on the other team, I mean, that's got to sting, right?
Yeah, it hurts to lose and lose big like that. It's extremely it's humbling when you go back and you get trounced like that in the NHL. And the other team is, when you're on the winning side of it, and the Panthers, it's fun. It's in the dressing room. You enjoy it. Andrew Brunette, the way that he rolls the line when he gets a lead, he's not trying to embarrass the other team. Right. He balances out the ice time. You see, if you get a late power play, he just rolls through. Sometimes he puts the third line out there on the power play. He's not trying to go out there and embarrass the other team and put up 10. He's not benching his fourth line and playing Barkov 24 minutes trying to get 10 goals. He's taking the minutes away from the top guys and giving it to the bottom guys, and just going. So that's where it's more impressive, and that's why it's probably, like Zach Werenski said in Columbus, it's embarrassing because they're not even trying to run up the score on us.
Right.
They're just doing it organically, running through all four lines and all six defensemen getting a chance to play. And they're a team at some point when it's 4-0 or when within moderation trying to come back, they're shortening their bench, playing their best players as much as they can, trying to get back into the game.
Right.
And on the Panther side, it's just one line, next line.
Right.
So, but the stuff you've seen at the Panthers games, we want 10. The wave coming back, which is retro, if you want to go back,
Right.
go back to the night. I don't know when the waves last was consistently at a sporting event, but the fans, something that's unique. Carolina has its thing with the post-game celebration. We had the Rats in '96. The fan base, when you start winning, starts to catch on to things. We want tens, a chant that's become prevalent. The wave starting to go around. Those are things that start to make it fun for the fans to come to games.
Right.
Where there's something that they feel part of.
Yeah.
They're a part of this. They're behind this, and without the fans, there is no game and there is no players on the ice. They are the heartbeat of the NHL. They're the reason why these teams exist. And that's why this Panther, with winning back the trust of this fan base and all the diehard fans that have been there, I respect the community so much and so desperately love what's going on at this moment, because I know I've become good friends with people like you and a number of our fans throughout the years and got to know them. And I love South Florida. I love the Panthers and the people, and everyone's been so nice and generous to me and my family. It's why I call home and always been a place there. So after the years of futility, to see the fun and the excitement back, it's something I'm so happy for our organization, for our fan base, that, hey, okay, we got a product that you can be extremely proud of. You can come back, we got the fun, we got the juice going, and the players are starting to feel it. And that's what it's all about as a sport. And you go, it's been through the bad times, but this fan base, they deserve some good times.
Yeah, we're ready.
They're starting to get rewarded with it, and they richly, deeply deserve it, because they've been through the thick and thin. And everyone that wants to jump on board and be on the bandwagon, we're more than welcome to take them. Come on out. We're starting. We got 15,000 there against Vancouver on a Tuesday night.
That's not a bad crowd.
And 15, we would never have that kind of attendance on a Tuesday night against Vancouver, or on a Friday against the Dallas, a Western Conference opponent. So you're starting to see where it's starting to get close. We're going to start getting 17,000 on a consistent basis. 15 will probably be the regular every single game throughout the course of the rest of the year. And as we near playoffs, it's just only going to get ramped up and get better. So everyone talks and jokes about the attendance. Everyone knows you got to win in South Florida. It's no secret.
Yep.
No matter what, whether it's hockey or Dolphins or whatever, but they're winning. And with that, we're the show in town right now. We are the show. So it's awesome to come out and be at the arena and see the fans having so much fun, and the players feel it. They get engaged with it too.
Yeah.
They know what's happening.
Yep.
Well, nothing would make me happier than to see you and Randy on the ice lifting the cup. And then obviously I want to lift the cup. I want to just make a quick comment and then I'll shut up. But back to the Rowinski comment, they interviewed the coach, and the coach made a comment about being embarrassed and whatever. But one of the reporters asked him about, do you have ill will that the Panthers racked up the score? And he said, no. He said, there's a team that plays 60 minutes, no matter what the score is.
Yeah, that's a valid point, which is true. Yeah. So there's been moments where, it hasn't happened, but we'll see. It's building, and everything that this team's doing is about building for the playoffs now. Yep. You still got areas you want to improve. And so we'll see how it goes. And these are good times at this moment, and I guarantee there's going to be some adversity here. Where we go, we might have some injuries, and we'll lose. There's probably going to be a stretch where we lose 3-4 games in a row.
Bite your tongue. Bite your tongue.
That stuff happens. There's just too many games to be played. It's that's the nature of the beast. But the consistency, if you lose 2 or 3 in a row and then wheel off a 7-game winning streak, you're good to go. That's where the Panthers play. The Panthers they go through a stretch. The adversity for them is 500, and then it's a
Right.
7-game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's what it was. That's what everybody was losing their minds over was 500. You're right.
Then it's followed up by a 7-game winning streak.
Right. Yeah.
So it's,
We're not used to this, that's what I keep telling everybody. It's like, we've got PTSD. I mean, some of us are old enough that we'll believe it when we see it at the end. We want to see the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
It's killing Eric's recaps because Eric started the channel.
I started the channel
channel
when we traded Gabranson, and everybody was all upset about that. So it's been, my brand is bitching and complaining. So the only thing left for me to complain about is things that might happen in the future, not bitching and complaining, and $35 parking at the game. That's all I've got. That's it. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
So,
Billy, in all seriousness, last question for me. How important do you think this road trip is? Because in my mind, this road trip is crucial. Everybody's gunning for us. We've had a tough time against Calgary in Calgary, Winnipeg. So what's your take this year, mid-January?
Yeah, it's an important road trip evaluation. These are the players. This is the toughest part of the season. December, January, just after the holidays. It's kind of the dog days of the NHL, where you kind of got to fight through your energy and get through it, because the finish line is not quite in the picture, and you're just kind of past that midway point. So it's just to me, it's how do they get through these days as a player on the road trip, to me, and being better on the road. They're not winning. I don't know. I don't believe they're going to go out and win 9-2 on these road trips. They'll be competitive games, but that's the next area I want to see improvement in, is the road record. So that's something that if you're a coaching staff, if a team's playing so well, you still gotta pick out points where you got to be better at, and you got. Hey, we've been awesome at home. Now you got to back it up on the road. So I'm sure Andrew Burnett and the players have made an emphasis. Hey, we know we've been great at home. We got to be able to prove it on the road.
Yep. Billy, I really appreciate it. I know Stu really appreciates it. All the time you give us is just a blessing, man. The fans appreciate it.
Yeah, and our viewers appreciate it. We get great comments when you and Randy are on. I mean, because how many times, Eric, have they said, wow, you're in the big time now. You got, Bowler and Lindsay.
It's true. It's the truth, man.
So thank you.
Yeah.
I think, guys, you know what? I like it to me to come on and just be with you guys. I know you guys are true fans at heart, and I know all the people that kind of watch and listen to this are the fans. And to me, playing in the NHL was awesome. But the community, like I said, the community people have been so gracious and generous to me that I have all the time in the world for people like you and the fans that make it worth our while. And it's, to me, you guys are the key component behind it all. So I try and make as much time as possible for that. I would never hide from that or shy away from it. Good or bad, I'm willing to talk about it, because that's where the spirit of sport is in the true fan. It's all about it's like rocking arenas with the crowd and making it go crazy in Miami Arena when those are the memories you treasure as an athlete, and you treasure what goes on the ice. But believe me, you remember those 15,000, 17,000 fans screaming at the top of their lungs. Those are something that you can recall, just kind of where you were that moment, the sweat dripping off your body, dripping off your nose, and those were the moments you live for.
Yep. All right, Billy, we really appreciate it, bud, and we will chat with you again super soon.
Maybe we'll do it after the road trip.
All right, sounds good, guys. I appreciate it.
All right,
enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you on the fly later.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Billy. Bye.
All right.